what do you expect from a young artist who wants to enter the animation industry, both in terms of skills and other things?
Yeah.
So like you're, because this is a question that's on everyone's mind these days, right? It's like, how do you, like, you want your first job, but like, what are those minimum expectations? Like, you know, like you're a young artist who wants to enter the industry, but like, it's not always obvious to them. Cause I mean, like one of the classic problems is like, you kind of sometimes need a job to get a job. And it's like, they get caught in that loop. So what are some tips to some of these people that are new, haven't had that first job yet, and they want to break in?
Yeah. I might be crazy, but I used to volunteer when I was young and I had to break in. I'm like, I'll do that for you for free. I'll do that for you for free. You know, and you see a whole bunch of, you know, stuff online that says, don't do anything for free. Don't, you know, you just blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, dude, if that's how I get in here, like, you know, I used to do posters for like even charities, you know, I'll do illustrations for magazines and I do one for free just to see if I could catch them. And generally I got work out of them. Yeah. So that was my little trick, you know, hey guys, here's my portfolio. I walked in the store once. I redid all the guys' newspaper ads and came in and said, what do you think of these? He's like, Jesus, what the hell? He's like, do I have to pay for these? I said, you can. He goes, oh, let's talk. Like someone had taken an interest in his store. It was a bicycle store, and he was selling really expensive bike, you know, high-end mountain bike gear. And I did a bunch of creative ads. That guy was freaked out and blown away. Sure. Because I think he was getting his kid sister to do the ads, and they were kind of, exactly. You know, they were like so.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyways.
The equivalent of that on an animation reel would probably be doing a little homework in the company and maybe putting up a test on there on your own doing something that you whipped up to freshen up the reel that feels like it would fit in nicely with the kind of games that a company makes, or the kind of movies and the kind of acting that you would typically see. So like, you know, just you do it on your own volition, you put it in the demo reel, but you're kind of hoping that there's a bit of a nod towards a certain studio maybe in there.
Well, I can remember we hired a programmer. He worked at IBM. He was trying not to kill himself. It was like a young fellow that graduated from somewhere out on the prairies and got a job at IBM. And yet he had been building in his lab, like in school, physics simulations. And now he was doing like database entry or something so terrible at IBM. And we're like, what are you doing? And he showed up at an IGDA meeting, right, in Toronto. He just showed up. And he looked like a guy from IBM. He was like, I think he's wearing a suit with a white shirt and stuff. And we're like, what the hell's this guy doing? Sure enough, he's got all this stuff on a website. We're like, oh my God, guy's a savant. Like, get him. So it was that sort of thing. Like his personal projects were actually what we were more interested in than his work, right? Yeah. And I've seen other young graduates who go, oh, I don't have time to do all this. So they gather 2 or 3 friends and do a short project, like a test, effectively a test, right? And somebody gets to be the producer on it. Someone has to be that person. So we're like, this is really cool. They've actually started to build their own projects with or without a job, right? And so I found that stuff interesting, that they're so invested, or an homage to something like Steven Spielberg. We're going to do some portion of whatever, or an homage to that studio, right? We really love the work you did on whatever. A quick story. We did a short film a million years ago at a studio that was like a test with a summer school. I think we had 8 students from Seneca or Sheridan, some one of the colleges, right? And we put a great animator on it to be the director. And we did this little, I don't know, it's maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And it looks like an old Hanna-Barbera kind of thing, but it had a clean aesthetic like a Pixar look. Like it's very clean, contemporary looking. One character battling to get some cookies off a fridge, right? We marketed it around the world to kids' film festivals. We were itching to see if the Oscars would, look at that. 2 guys got jobs at Pixar because they worked on the short. Didn't matter that they'd worked on feature films. They get into the interview, and the Pixar guys are going, tell us about this short film. They're like, what? You didn't see my shots from the feature film? No, who cares about that? What about this? Who directed this? They got a job off of like a passion project from a summer school thing, right? And so you couldn't have called that one, right? But anyways, back to your question. I think it's do the other things, do some extracurricular. And if you're sending the same reel in over and over, because people used to do this, here's my reel. Is there anything new on it? Have you done anything new since the last time I saw it, right? Because all you're doing is, this didn't work the first time. Is it going to work now? Is it going to work now? How about now? Exactly. So I'd rather have them say, hey, I added something to my reel. You might like it. Oh, what did you add? Right? Now there's a reason, right?
Yeah, this comes back to too, like you were saying, prolific, right? Be prolific. It comes back to that idea. Put yourself out there and do something that you're going to really enjoy. And we've been hearing from a lot of people over the months talking about building your brand. Being prolific is part of that process, right? Is about making sure you put yourself out there, but you're doing that in order to build a brand. You're putting it out on LinkedIn. You're always pushing stuff out so people can see it. So that who knows what that could lead to, because you might be in a conversation and getting a job just out of that total pet project, because that was more interesting than some of the professional work you've done.
Well, if I could, I don't want to keep David because
David does have to go.
So
go on.
Quick story. We're building a movie. We have to use cloth, this cloth sim. Nobody in the studio likes it. They all hate it. And there's like 15 people on the crew who've all used it before, but no one put up their hand. They're like, hey, we need someone to do cloth. Everyone's like, oh, I'm busy, And so we're scouring the studio, because the client was Disney, and Disney said, you're using NCloth because the CG Soup on our team says we're using NCloth.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, dude, there's so many better sims than NCloth. Why are we using this? So like there's this hatred on the crew, right? And the CG Super comes in from Disney, could feel it. He's like, oh, what is wrong with this? So there's one guy on the team, junior guy, can barely speak English, right? He has this challenge every day communicating with people because English is not his first language. But he sees this opportunity. He goes home at night, every night, on forums. Man. How do I do that? On forums, downloading stuff, asking questions on forums, right? Within about 3 weeks, this guy who struggles with the English language has become the NCloth specialist in the studio.
Just because
the Disney Soup is going, this is my guy. I don't even know how to say his name, but this is my guy. What? And so... And shortly after that movie, where does he go? He goes down to another feature film. What is he? The cloth specialist.
Of course.
He's the Sin, right? His character filing guy, right? And
that's
so
crazy.
His career just went, ooh, on that one thing. He didn't take crap from anyone. He just went, I'm going to do this, right? Another story, a buddy of mine went down to LA, his first gig in LA, and he's like, I finally get to Los Angeles. And he's got a work visa. He just got an apartment. He's all excited. 6 weeks into the project, the client pulls the plug. He's like, this is my in. Now I've got to go back to Canada. I have to find a place. I have to get rid of the lease on my apartment, all this stuff, right? And so he quickly goes and asks another director on another project in the studio, are you guys struggling with something? Is there anything here that's on fire that needs a fix? And the guy's like, this animatic here sucks. I need someone to fix this. He's like, what do you need? What do you need? So he basically works like around the clock for like 4 days and comes back with like, what do you think of this? And the director's like, holy F and F and F, I need to hire you. Who the hell are you? And he's like, I'm Canadian and my project just got pulled and they're going to kick me out. I'm going to get deported. Wow. And then he's like, stay here, don't move. And he goes to HR and then he goes to the senior executives and stuff. And so he said, from that one experience, he said, every studio I'm in now, I try to find that thing that's unloved or that really people are dancing around at it and be awesome. And he said, basically, I haven't had to do a reel or a resume in 10 years.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Because people are like, that dude tackles stuff all the time.
Well, like Petter was saying, these sound like origin stories of like superheroes. Just because it was like that one moment they stepped up.